to Gang Hang. My name's Matt Baum.
I'm the internet's Joe Patrick.
And we're the Two-Headed Nerd. And when we're not talking about new comics or old comics or comics or comics, we get together with you guys, our listeners, to talk about comics. Hey! All right! It's Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And we haven't done this for a little while.
It's almost too many comics. It's too much.
We haven't done this for a little bit, and we missed all of the headlines that came out of SDCC. Absolute Power is in full force. Blood Hunt is over. So we've got one event that's finished. We've got one that is en route, I guess, or in media res. I don't know. How do you say that? Ongoing.
In
progress.
In progress. Yeah. In media res means you begin in the middle.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, well, our last Gang Hang was the Saturday of Comic-Con. So we did get a lot of Comic-Con stuff, but we missed the Hall H panel.
I assume more of us have seen
which
Deadpool
was
and
happening
Wolverine.
Later that night.
Yeah. I assume more of us have seen Deadpool and Wolverine since then and might want to talk about that. There's all kinds of stuff to talk about. I don't know if anybody saw Borderlands. It is at a solid 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It was at 4% the last time I saw.
It went down to
I'm
0.
Not shocked that it's now down to 0.
Yeah.
Well, how does it go from 4 to 0?
I don't know. Like Rotten Tomatoes, baby.
Lose positive reviews.
It started at 0. I think it went up to 4%.
Yeah.
But
it was at 4 yesterday. But I haven't looked at it.
The best part of this is it's like if you think about comic book movies, right? And the train we've been on, there's been so many bad comic book movies, and then there were some good ones, and then there were some that were bad and some that were good. But no one was like saying there is no excuse for this. We had like 2 good video game properties, literally 2. Maybe you can count some of The Witcher, right? That was like translated into live action.
Well, I mean, The Witcher's novels. The Witcher came from a lot of
right.
The source material is not the.
That's why I'm saying maybe. If you want to throw it in there, I'll take it. But we literally had 2 that were good, and now we get one that's bad, and everyone's just like, no, unacceptable. Absolutely. How did this happen?
The Last of Us, and remind me what the other one was. Last of Us, and what was the other one?
Fallout.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here to tell you,
it's Anthony Mackie and Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal was fun.
I will put that on the list.
Some people liked Twisted
Metal. I liked
Metal.
it. I'm excited for season 2.
But again, Twisted Metal has no story. The games really have no story.
But Borderlands did.
I'm aware.
Like I would argue Borderlands had no story either. I mean, it was
Borderlands has a story, but guess what? That's not what you're there for.
Right.
You're not there for the story of Borderlands.
Turns out the movie's not either, apparently.
Borderlands is a series of ridiculous moments that you have hopefully with a team of 3 other friends.
Right.
And like loosely based around the idea that you're looking for your way into a mythical vault full of
I mean the vault and whatever
riches.
But the movie was that. Every review I read was like, it's like watching people play a video game in a bad way.
but that's literally the entire story.
Yeah. Like,
wait, is it the reverse of Fallout?
Yes.
So in Fallout, you come out of the vault.
Well,
so Borderlands is you're trying to go back in?
Different kind of vault.
Different vault.
This is like a cosmic bank vault.
Yeah, you want to rob
they're
something.
all bounty hunters essentially, or whatever.
Right,
they are,
like this vault. They're called vault hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they're searching for the vault and a way into the vault, and the vault has these like mythical riches and power and whatever. And
you go from vault dwellers to vault hunters.
Yeah.
Is anyone still reading Vault comics?
What's that again?
I still read Vault comics.
Is anyone still reading Vault comics?
There's a lot of great Vault comics.
Hey, Vault comics. What's that book we like from Vault? Barbaric is Vault.
It's very good.
Cool. Vault puts out a lot of good comics.
Yeah. If you're not reading Vault comics, you're missing. Barbaric is excellent, and it's one of those ones that like I will never stop.
Barbaric is a different.
What's the other
porn
one?
Parody.
Was it Hollow Heart that I read that I really liked? Hollow Heart, I think, was really good.
Hollow Heart, that sounds familiar.
That one's really good.
I just remember Vault did all the World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade comics that were so good because they were Tim Seeley and Teenie Howard. And,
Giga. That's the one. Giga is excellent. Giga is like,
Giga.
It's like people living in the skeletons of these giant robots that destroyed the world, basically. It's really good. Oh, and the art is amazing. Excellent stuff. Vault comics, folks. Did we want to talk about any Wolverine Deadpool feelings? I mean, like, you guys have seen it by now, I'm sure.
Yes, I think we should.
Let's get into it.
I've not seen it, but I don't care about spoilers.
The good news is, like, aside,
I appreciate that about you, JD.
Aside from
It
guest
reminds me of our
stars,
pal Big Mike.
there's like no way to spoil it other than this person showed up. That would be the spoiler. There's nothing in the story where you're gonna be like, they did that.
I've seen, and I exist on the internet, so
Right.
it's pretty unavoidable. Like I've seen Charming Tater as Gambit, and I've seen what's his name? Superman show up as
Henry Cavill.
Oh my God,
Cavill.
the Henry Cavill thing.
Wolverine.
The Henry Cavill thing. Like, look, I get it. We know they're gonna break the fourth wall and they're gonna get real meta. But the way that he did it, the fanboy thing that came out of him, it was just like reading every jerk on the internet being like, Marvel would be so much better than Henry Cavill. Whatever, we just cast him as that. Whatever. He's just like saying it out loud.
And
Henry Cavill
Deadpool's like, we'll treat you so much better than those dicks down the street. My favorite part, Deadpool. So the spoilers, they can't even be considered spoilers anymore because the second the movie came out, legitimate outlets, news outlets online, were just posting stuff.
Oh yeah,
with no warnings, no like spoiler tags, nothing. And then Marvel started doing it.
Well,
and
yeah.
So it's just like, well, I guess the cat's out of the bag now. Wesley Snipes is in it.
Well, and Snipes went on like a media tour afterwards.
Chris Evans is Johnny Storm, not Steve Rogers.
And Snipes was like, I still got it, baby. Snipes was like, I loved being in the movie. I still got it. I was never mad at Ryan Reynolds. That was all bullshit. It was the whole thing. I'm ready. Marvel, suit me up. I'm ready. And they're like, we'll call you.
Well, and I loved. He said there's a line in the movie. The best part of the movie for me is all of the meta jokes, like the Wolverine like cocks his fists like the guy like his character in the Mission Impossible Fallout. And then during one scene, Blade says something about how there'll only ever be one Blade.
No, he's like,
Deadpool looks straight at the camera.
Yeah, they're like, who the hell is this guy? And he's like, Blade. There's only one Blade. Only ever gonna be one Blade. Like, goddamn, Blade.
And then Channing Tatum's incredible Cajun, I don't know what the hell accent.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was so just like mouthful of marbles good.
that one
You gotta pick your dialect, coach.
I was like, all right, yeah, I'll go with it, because I like the character right then and there. Other than that, it's like I hate the character, but that was great.
No, it was perfect. It's like it was for you and me, Frank. It's for everybody that hates Gambit.
Cool.
Yeah, and
it was in a comics accurate costume.
Totally.
The cards looked cool. The staff looked cool.
He flipped around. He threw the cards.
He sounded like an idiot.
Did the stuff. That's the thing that kills me. It's the people on the internet that love Gambit, and they're like, "Yes, give us more of that." I'm like, guys, that was a joke. Okay, they're making fun of you. All right, settle down.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that Gambit in this movie was such a hit that I'd be willing to make a nerd bet that we will see him again.
I bet you $200,000 we don't.
I don't think you're wrong.
I don't think we do.
I think we'll see him again. In Secret Wars at the very least.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe something like that.
We'll see Gambit again, or we'll see Charming Tater as Gambit?
Yes.
JD.
It has to be Channing Tatum.
Come on,
at this
JD.
point.
No, he's done acting after this. Channing Tatum is done acting.
No, he's saying Channing Tatum as Gambit is what he's saying.
As Gambit, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So
yes,
can we
Channing Tatum. We will see Channing Tatum's Gambit again. And they'll tone down the ridiculous, I think, because that was obviously
you can't though. You can't just like bring him back like now it's cool. Like no way. They'll do something funny with him if we see him again. They will.
Secret Wars. All right, that's another thing about the movie is that I think that all of us were expecting Deadpool to be in the MCU at the end of the movie. Like actually residing in the MCU, and that's not what happened.
And I called my shot. No. I said that's not going to happen, and you were like, "Yeah, but it dies." That's
What are
my
you
Joe
talking about?
Patrick. That's my Joe Patrick impersonation. I said,
What
no
do you mean
way.
you called your shot?
I said they're gonna tie this up with a bow. We're gonna have fun. They're gonna jump around. It's gonna be
and we're
hilarious.
never going to see Deadpool
and
again?
they're done. I think
No.
they're done. I don't think we'll see Ryan
They're
Reynolds as
never
Deadpool
going to be
again.
done with Deadpool. It's
No, I don't
It-
think they're done with Deadpool.
He's coming
I
back in
think
Secret Wars.
He's
I-
coming
no doubt.
back.
Probably
Yes.
something.
and Deadpool and Wolverine, I believe they've come right out and said it.
Yeah,
I haven't
they're
seen
definitely
that.
coming back in Secret
Eh,
Wars.
Well,
Ooh, thank you for the balloons, whoever was that, whoever did that. But yeah, I think so. I think that Secret Wars is going to be the thing that brings, at the very least, Deadpool and maybe even some other bits and pieces here and there into the actual MCU, like the way that Secret Wars brought Miles from the Ultimate Universe.
Okay, no one of any
Yeah,
repute
yeah.
is reporting that Deadpool and Wolverine are going to be in the Secret Wars yet. So it's
I-
all
Mm,
bullshit.
Give you-
It's gonna happen.
Right.
Listen,
I
hold on.
think
I can
Ryan,
give you
that's-
900. I can give you 940 million reasons why.
Well, sure.
Yep.
Exactly. There
Yeah.
you go. But the other part is they even teased it in the movie itself. You remember even the beginning part with the TVA where they were saying that, oh yeah, my
Oh, yeah.
superior Paradox is like, yeah, you have actually some purpose that they, that's going to come up, in the future, but not right now. We're
Right,
dealing with
right.
this-
Thor crying over his dying body. That
Well,
kind of-
that's going to
that kind of
happen.
stuff.
The character.
I'm
I can't remember-
pretty convinced that Thor was played by a different Hemsworth.
That was.
I'm
I'm not 100. I'm not
It was a
100%
Hemsworth
sure.
brother. Yeah, it was a
They
Hemsworth brother. I
reused
think.
footage from Dark World.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure, that makes sense. Because like if you look at it, if you look at the movie closely, if you have the opportunity to, if like maybe you watch the movie at home somehow.
Joe, you're just trying to get the cops to kick your door in, huh? Look at you.
I'm just saying, if you had an opportunity to look closely at all of the cameoed characters, specifically a lot of the Z-list characters from the X-Men universe, like Azazel and Toad and Callisto or whoever she was supposed to be, no. And they weren't played by the original actors. Like, I don't think Azazel was the original actor. Vinnie Jones that definitely didn't play Juggernaut.
No, Vinnie Jones did not play Juggernaut. I think that was the
Oh, and
dude
in
that
fact,
was
there's a
Azazel,
joke
though.
because Deadpool says, "Oh, you must be this year's Juggernaut."
Yeah.
that was the guy that played the jacked Free Guy in Free Guy, the Jack Ryan Reynolds in Free Guy.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
nice.
Oh, the
Fine,
body
that's-
that they CGI'd
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds'
That's
face on.
fun.
Nice.
That's super fun. Yeah, it was the original guy that played
but, like,
Azazel.
I don't
Joe.
think Ray Park was Toad. Like I
that
think they would have
definitely
given
was
him
Ray
something to do if that were the case.
Not
you know?
necessarily.
He was
I
too
mean,
young. He was too young to be Ray Park. He was absolutely not the same guy.
We know that Pyro was it was Aaron Stanford was Pyro because they made a big deal of that, and Tyler Mane obviously was Sabretooth, which was hilarious. They the build up to the Sabretooth fight that lasted 30 seconds.
How about the screen accurate Wolverine? I mean, the comic accurate Wolverine.
Oh, not just one, but two comic book
Oh,
accurate
I'm
Wolverine.
talking about
Well,
the one who was 5'3".
with the Hulk.
Oh, him, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was so.
the short king Wolverine.
It's like we've wanted to see this for so long,
Yes.
and then they're like, "Here it is," and it just.
But he was comically
absolutely
tiny.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
he looked like 3 feet
He's a
tall.
cartoon.
Like he
Yeah.
hopped off a bar stool
So
like
good.
he was a little kid.
so good.
Like, listen, I'm that height, and I know that I can get off a bar stool without hopping off of it.
Frank,
Yeah.
I am that height, and I hop off a lot of bar stools. I'll be the first to admit it. All right.
Yeah.
You gotta get shorter bar stools.
Hop
I mean,
right
but
off.
hopping off of a bar stool like that is a style choice, not like.
Well, yeah, he was showing how
physical
tough he was.
necessity.
He's like, "Ugh."
You can slide down and touch one leg on the ground. That's how you can get off a bar stool.
Right, or
But
sitting down.
we got Patch, we got the Burn brown and yellow, or brown and tan.
Oh yeah, versus the Hulk in that
The
in
blue
that
and yellow.
scene too.
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah, and gosh, like and the
The Claremont cover.
the crucifix cover.
So good. And he's like, "Ooh, you're busy. I don't want to bother you."
Apocalypse, Weapon X. I wanted the claws to come out of that stump hand so bad.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you just beat him with it though, but
I
that's still
know
good.
it's still fun.
it was still great.
Like that
yeah.
the whole montage was amazing. Yeah, the movie is a ton of fun. Like the Deadpool core was great. Like Matthew McConaughey played Cowboy Deadpool.
Yeah.
Blake Lively played Lady Deadpool. Obviously, one of his kids was like the little kid Deadpool.
And Headpool was from Firefly. What's his?
Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion.
Deadpool,
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, funny story. So
I
Ray
thought-
Park apparently strutted around the internet telling everybody that he was coming back as Toad, and they're like, "No, Daniel Medina Ramos is gonna play Toad."
Oh no, sorry, Ray.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that Secret Wars. I think we're gonna see Deadpool and Wolverine for sure in Secret Wars.
There'll be something, I'm sure.
And that at the end of Secret Wars, Deadpool will be in the proper MCU.
Okay, did anyone
That's
want
just-
Affleck to show up as Daredevil? Part of me was like,
Yes.
please do it.
Oh
Please
yeah, but
do
that
it.
line
Please
was
do
great
it.
though with
Where
Jennifer
he's like,
Garner.
The line was great.
They're like,
It's like, that must have been terrible for you.
Daredevil. She's like, it's fine.
She's like, that must have been terrible for you. She's like, no, not so bad.
it's fine. And you know what? Jennifer Garner was great. as
She was
Elektra.
great. But had they
did you see
done
the behind the
Affleck
scenes?
and Elektra, so they'd done Daredevil and Elektra, and they just like couldn't get
They should
along
have fought
and
at a
fought the
playground.
whole time. No, just like
They
bitched
should
at
have
each
fought
other.
on a playground. That would have been
Just
great.
Had them as like
I did
they've
see
been
I did
divorced,
see her
right?
training videos.
They're divorced.
Damon, of them training Elektra training with the size for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, and X-23. Oh man,
Yeah, God bless that.
she's so good.
she's great.
It was great.
She was great.
Yeah.
So I was reading some stuff on Hugh Jackman, and that 30-second clip of him with the very, very, very egregiously graphic ab scene.
Oh yeah.
30 dude, that was hilarious. I still that song is still in my head.
It was
Took
great.
him 30 days of dehydration to get to that point. Like I was reading.
Oh yeah, that's
about
some
it.
Christian Bale like body modification shit
he was-
where it's like you don't eat for 6 months. You know.
Yeah, it was 30 days of like specifically targeting like dehydration or something. I don't understand exactly how it works because I'll never look like that.
Well, yeah. I mean,
but
none
bodybuilding
of us
thing.
will.
I look like that, right?
right?
I'm like that right now. I just don't take
But
my
body-
shirt off. I don't want to.
bodybuilding
I don't want to
Your
scare you
camera's
guys.
on, Matt. We
I don't
know
wanna
you
stand here
don't
and
look like that.
Welcome to the gang hang, everybody.
These games.
I did love
Yay.
that. Like every time, they had to have him in his shirt off. I loved at the end that when he finally connected his claws to the doohickey, the MacGuffin, to complete the circuit, his shirt exploded
Yeah.
over his body.
Instantly.
that was
Yeah,
great.
it was.
And
it was pretty
the
great.
He looked so good in the mask. Oh my!
When he finally
Yeah,
put the
it was-
mask on, I wiggled. I like physically was like,
I did too.
man. Like, ah.
Yeah.
And
I
then
squealed a little. I was
And the
like,
line,
"Whoa."
Deadpool turns, looks at him, and he goes, "Well, only took 23 years for that to happen."
I know.
Like, nice.
Man, so good. I mean, it doesn't really it doesn't hold up to intense scrutiny if you're trying to figure out stuff. Like, it doesn't really
No.
make any sense how.
It's not supposed to.
No.
No. I know, but so we've talked a lot about like whose timeline is everybody from? Is Deadpool from a Bryan Singer X-Men timeline, and Logan is the Logan that died? Like that's all one timeline, which. It would be easy to say yes, except for Deadpool 2 was like, well, here's Colossus and here's the Juggernaut, and they're totally contrary to what we've already seen in
but
the X-Men movie.
Deadpool also
Well,
addressed
Not that
that.
anybody
It's a
should
Fox-
care about that version of the
But
Juggernaut.
the answer is Fox didn't give a crap.
Right.
They were filming those movies.
Right, and
That's
that
the
actually
answer
came
for
up
that.
in the discussion channel where it's like, yeah, the real answer is that Fox did not give a shit about movie to movie continuity.
No, of course not. I mean, and it's not
Which
like
is why we had Mystique coming back as like Xavier's kid's sister, adopted sister,
yeah.
and but then like she didn't know him in the first X-Men movie and all this dumb shit
yeah. Well, you know,
that the first class
one
movies
thing-
did.
I actually did see one thing on a theory channel. I was just, okay, I'll go with that just with a headcanon. I don't think it's ever going to be made official. But they did show when Cassandra Nova was in Logan's head. All the clips were from, what was it? The Wolverine, the one that the samurai one? I can't remember if that was 2 or his Origins, whatever it's called.
Oh, the
but-
Wolverine, yeah.
Yeah, the Wolverine. So it seems like almost all of his memories came from that particular movie. If you go by the flashbacks that they were coming with Cassandra Nova. So, and actually, what they were also saying is that when they say he's the worst Wolverine, some people thought that movie was like one of the worst. They were saying,
oh gosh. You know what? I just rewatched X-Men Origins Wolverine, and I'm here to tell you that is the worst Wolverine.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
1,000%.
I argue the Wolverine is one of the better ones.
The Wolverine is actually a good movie until you get to the end, and they made the Silver Samurai a giant robot.
The Wolverine is very good up until the last 15 minutes of the movie, and then it just devolves into...
Just like the Wonder Woman movie is very good until she has to fight a computer-generated blob of light.
No one told them they had to end the film. I think they thought it was just going to go on and on. And I'm like, guys, this is the end. And they're like,
if only anybody knew how movies were made back then.
What if he fights a robot? Like, that works. Let's do it.
Conflicts never end. So
right. I rewatched X-Men Origins Wolverine. Like Deadpool Wolverine got me all jazzed up, and I was like, oh, and they was on HBO, so I was like, okay, and so I watched it. And I hadn't seen it in a while, and there are parts of it that are actually kind of fun. You know, I thought that Gambit was okay. Like that version of Gambit was okay. I actually thought that like there's nothing wrong with Wolverine. That was a joke when I said he was the worst, but like the Wolverine portrayal is fine. I think Liev Schreiber is an excellent Sabretooth.
Liev Schreiber was incredible as Sabretooth and wasted.
I wish we had more of him.
And
like Agent Zero is badass, and but so some of it is cool, and then they make such baffling decisions,
like making Sabretooth run like a dog.
Problem.
The Sabretooth is super badass and scary, and then he gets down on all fours and runs like a puppy dog. Like, what are you doing?
It's weird, yeah.
No, don't do that.
No, that is weird. But yeah, like the Blob, when they had Fred Dukes at the beginning when he was on Team X, and he was just this guy who was like immovable and vulnerable. It's like, okay,
sure.
And then when they cut to 6 years later and he's fat, or however many years later it was,
he just ate a lot.
And it's just because he let himself go. It's like, stop.
Well, let's not forget
right now
the amazing portrayal that Will.I.am brought to the film. I mean,
you know what? Will.I.am is not the worst part of that
casting
movie.
choice.
No. I'm a sucker for teleporters, so I like Wraith.
I like teleporters too.
Totally fine
I like Wraith. But what part of Wraith did you think, what they need for this movie? You know who we
I don't
should
actually
get?
know anything about Wraith, John Wraith.
We gotta go get.
It's like G.W. Bridge. It's like,
right? Yeah.
Is there some deep-seated like John Wraith lore that I should be offended?
No.
I'm not. It's like it's a name you can pull out of the Marvel.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Sure.
Let's make a character around this.
Like I would have been mad if they were like, "Oh, we need a teleporter. Let's make him Nightcrawler."
Well, sure. No, and I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying, why Will.I.am? Where did that come from?
Because Will.I.am is popular.
Come on. And he went on to make no more movies. That was that.
Speaking of GW Bridge, we finally got answers on that's not happening.
Right. Yeah. That was something that we missed last Gang Hang because the big announcements from Hall H hadn't happened yet. Giancarlo Esposito is not playing GW Bridge. He is playing Sidewinder from the Serpent Society.
And no other significant casting announcements were made.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
I think they were just trying to shut people up from what they were saying.
Oh, right. Sorry. You know what? I blacked that out. For a second there, I thought you were being sincere.
No. Just hopeful.
They also so we should get into this for the record since this is recorded and people will be revisiting it. Marvel's big announcement at Hall H was that they've completely reworked the Kang Dynasty plan. It's no longer the plan. The Kang Dynasty is out. The 5th Avengers movie is now called Avengers Doomsday, and Dr. Doom is the villain. And you know what? That's all fine and good.
Yeah, up until that, I'm
because
excited.
Secret Wars,
right there, that's awesome.
Yeah, in the Jonathan Hickman and the original Secret Wars, Dr. Doom is a huge part.
Mm-hmm.
And then they trotted out a guy dressed like Dr. Doom, sort of, and they're bringing the Russos back to direct both movies. Yeah, there's Sidewinder. I hope he looks like that at some point.
Yeah, like when
I
he's
hope.
well,
that
yeah,
mask.
when he leaves and he's like, "All right, I try. You saw me. They know who I am now. I can put my real costume on."
Like I'm looking at this and I know that these are full trunks, but the way these trunks are designed, it makes it look like he is just wearing a jockstrap.
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so they brought the Russos back to direct, and they announced that Doctor Doom is going to be played by none other than Robert Downy Jr.
Time out.
Actually,
Time out.
hold on. I actually heard a
Didn't
thing.
say
That
Doctor
apparently,
Doom.
the Russos was Downey's like line in the sand. Like he said, I won't do this unless
Without the
it's with
Russos.
them.
Right, but they did not
Well,
say
that's fair.
he's playing Doctor Doom. The announcement
Yes,
says
they did.
he is playing Victor Von Doom. Is what they said. They never
They said
say
there's
the
only
word.
one man that week. There's
Dr.
only
Doom.
one. Okay. But he's Doctor Doom, man. Victor Von Doom is Dr.
I don't
Doom.
disagree, but they said Victor Von.
He's wearing the Doctor Doom costume.
Did they say that?
He's not Tony Evil.
He walked
basically,
out
is what we're
wearing
getting
it in the hall. Sure, I agree, but like, look, man, Marvel lies to us about shit all the time. I don't
Baby
know.
lies, and I get it. And I would like nothing more than for it to be a big fake out.
So I did see there are two instances where Tony Stark is Doom, and one of them is obviously it's a what if, and it's what if Doom, Stark and Doom were roommates and not Reed and Doom.
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Stark Doom was working on this machine, and he's saying like, "Oh, we're gonna try to contact the other side," and he's like, "Okay, great," and it was actually he transferred his brain into Stark's body and vice versa. So Doom is in Stark's body, right? And then and now the way the story works out is, like Doom goes back to Victor Von Doom, which is Stark, goes back to Ledberia at poor with nothing, and he builds up this empire electronic and makes Ledberia this like because he's Stark, he makes it like this paradise, and he introduces all this brand new technology because he's still a genius, but he doesn't know that he's Tony Stark,
Right.
Because he's
Right.
completely lost his memory. Doom, on the other hand, takes over Stark Industries and just starts kind of like making more and more and more weapons and things like that, and he becomes sort of like a green and yellow Iron Man instead of like
Yeah.
yellow.
Okay.
And
We're gonna
red
cover this book in our next CLB. We're gonna do When Tony Goes
you?
Evil.
Oh, okay.
Basically.
Oh, cool.
So-
Well, oh yeah. Oh shoot. I guess we need to figure that out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then-
I was supposed to do research on that. Thank
Yeah.
you for reminding me.
Just
And
forcing
then
the
I mean,
issue.
That's
there.
2 weeks. That's more than a
Yeah.
week away because we're doing new comics this week.
There was
But,
another
there's also
Infamous
there's
Iron
also
Man?
an exile story
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
where Tony becomes Doctor Doom. There's a storyline in the short-lived. Well, it wasn't short-lived. It ran for a couple years, but nobody ever talks about it. Robert Kirkman's Marvel team up. When Robert Kirkman wrote for Marvel for a while,
Yeah.
he brought back Marvel team up, and there's a storyline where Tony is Doctor Doom. There is Infamous Iron Man, and people keep pointing that out, but that is actually that's Victor Von
Yeah.
Doom.
Yeah.
An Iron Man
That's what-
armor.
Wearing
Von Doom
Iron Man
taking-
armor.
We're still gonna
Yeah,
count it
that
for the
was actually-
CLB.
I only-
Still count.
I like to talk about that one just because that was better than it had any right to my opinion.
It was
Well,
great.
that's probably I would say arguably that's probably the best example of that kind of story.
Yeah.
Like, so now Frank, that what if story
Yeah.
gets my brain percolating.
Oh.
We know that they've confirmed that Fantastic Four takes place in a retro futuristic version of the 1960s.
Mm.
So it is a period piece. But clearly the MCU Earth was not like that in the 60s.
Right.
So the FF is probably from another universe.
Mm-hmm.
What if Doctor Doom, what if Victor Von Doom, who is a character, by the way, known for mind swapping in the comics as well.
Sure.
What if Victor Von Doom has put his mind in the body of a hero?
It has to be something like that because they're not going
And
to be
then
like, what else? What else are we going to do?
He's come with the Fantastic Four to the MCU, and he's like, and then only to reveal it's like, it is your greatest enemy, and that I'd be fine with if at some point like he gets his own body back, right?
So I want to throw something else too that I don't know if it means anything, but they had the D23 Expo last night. Actually, they had a bunch of
Yes,
if you know,
D23 was last night.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of trailers, including the Daredevil one, by the way, which I am actually pretty hyped
Oh,
about.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I saw the new Agatha All Along trailer, and it looks pretty good.
That just came out.
I think it's a musical.
Well, partially at least. But but the thing about some people were saying was apparently Robert Downy Jr. is filming some stuff for Fantastic Four right now. So
Okay.
I don't know what that means in the grand scheme of things, but take that for what it will.
Wow.
So what if and I'm spitballing, and this is Mephisto on the wall time. Mephisto in the fly on the wall time. What if Victor Von Doom has put his consciousness in the body of Tony Stark from whatever universe that is? And when the FF and Tony come to the 616, Vic splits off and finds his own counterpart and takes over his own body or whatever. And that's how we get Doctor Doom.
Oh, actually, there might be something towards that, because didn't like Scarlet Witch, like in Multiverse of Madness, what do they call it again? Flesh walking?
Yeah.
Or like when she traveled the multiverse, she found her other. She took over the body of herself.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think that it could be that's something. If that's the story, if something like that is what happens, then I'm fine with that. That at least gets like you're putting forth a compelling case. Now argue it and convince me. But if they try to pull some shit that like this is just a variant of Victor Von Doom that looks like Tony Stark, I will fucking riot.
I hope they go full.
That's so stupid.
I don't think they're going to.
I think it might be something like that because there's no reason for them to show his face.
Well, that's another theory, is that if he never takes the mask off, then who cares?
Now, you don't get Robert Downey Jr. and pay him this much money to come be in the movie and never take his mask off. I agree with Matt
on that one.
There's no way.
There's no way they get Robert Downey Jr. and there's no way that people aren't going to go, Tony Stark, you're back. What happened? You're
right.
You're dead.
That's got to be part of it.
Right. This is definitely a big part of the storyline. Listen,
and
I have never known the Marvel, like the Russo brothers. Everything they've done so far with Marvel has been absolutely on target and a hit. And I don't think
it'll be a hit.
They're going to screw this up. This is not going to get screwed. This is not
going to make a lot of money.
I hope you're right, Frank. I hope you're right.
But they have to play on the Tony thing. They have to.
But this could also be like, so if Victor Von Doom leaves Tony's body once they get here, that could be how we get Tony back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. No. I'm gonna pull Brian and Matt on this one and say no. There's no narrative reason outside of being from a different Earth that makes Victor Von Doom look like Robert Downey Jr.
No. That's not what I mean. I'm saying that he. No, I agree with you. I'm saying that if Victor Von Doom, the man, has placed his mind in the body of Tony Stark from Earth, whatever it is.
I don't think he has.
I think that I really think that they're not concerned with minds or body swapping or anything. I think in in the economy of the MCU, right?
I think that's the reality, Ian. Yeah.
I think the easiest way that you get to Doctor Doom in terms of the MCU is Iron Man plus Doctor Strange. Right? We got a really rich, powerful guy in a metal suit that has mystic abilities, right? So the way you get there, to me, economically, is you have an alternate version of Tony Stark in some different world who opts to not be the good guy. He kills Obadiah Stane, but takes over Stark Industries for himself, becomes one of the biggest warlord mercenary billionaires on the planet, gets his ass whipped by Doctor Strange because he doesn't understand the mystic arts. And what Tony Stark would do would be
learn magic,
learn everything about that.
Yep.
Comes back, kicks Doctor Strange's ass, and now all of a sudden he's Doctor Doom. But I think more importantly, I think you have to look at the end of Secret Wars to kind of figure out how they're going to work back to this character. Like, the reason that made Thanos so compelling is that he doesn't fall victim to the lure of ultimate power. Like, he gives up at the end. Like, he's truly almost a good guy in that sense, where it's like, I did my mission, I didn't let it corrupt my vision, and I finished. Well, what Dr. Doom does in Secret Wars is literally save reality. Now he's the worst person to do it, but he's the only one with the balls big enough to like take on the Beyond.
Well, I mean, that's the end of Blood Hunt. They just did it again in Blood Hunt.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
Where
okay.
like Doctor Doom, like Doctor Strange is dead. He's a ghost. His astral Doctor Strange has been turned into a vampire, so his astral form is out there loose, normal.
Right.
And he goes with Clea, his wife, to Doctor Doom, and they're like, "Dude, you got to help us fix this shit because Latveria is the only place on Earth where the sun's still shining." And Doctor Strange gives up this power of the Sorcerer Supreme to Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom saves the world.
So I think like what you're looking at here is if you're getting Robert Downey Jr. to play Doom, it's not going to be just I'm the big bad guy and then people punch me hard enough and I die and it's over. I think the whole thing is like Tony Stark in the movies before has erred egregiously on the side of protecting humanity. He creates Ultron to create a suit of armor around the world. Well, I see this version, this Robert Downey version of Doctor Doom as a guy who is like traveling through dimensions, trying to get either the team or the resources he needs to save reality. And to do that, you're going to have to be a bit of a bastard. And in the end, he's going to lose to Reed Richards because Reed Richards is the virtuous one. So I think it gives, at least to my eyes, that gives Robert Downey Jr. the most compelling arc to kind of be a villain who is just really a bad at being a hero. Do you know what I mean? I think like all of the mind stuff swap and personality stuff swap is interesting, but like Feige said Victor Von Doom on stage at Hall H. I don't really think that's legally binding. I think they could just make him an alternate evil version of Tony Stark, and it works. Like not in the comic book sense. There's no country called Latveria. He's not horribly scarred, but you could also even make him Anthony Stark, or you can make him Tony Stark's dad and put him and juxtapose him against Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie as well.
I think you're 100% right, though. I think there's no reason to overthink
Ian,
it.
is that they didn't have to refer to him as Victor Von Doom. And they
could've
did
just
multiple
said Dr. Doom.
times.
Yeah,
Well,
I
again,
could have just called him
so.
Doctor Doom.
I know. I guess my point is like I'm less concerned about the minutia of how they get there, and I'm more interested to see because like again, the Russo brothers did arguably the 4 best Marvel films because they really took the characters of Steve Rogers and Tony Stark and they went through thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, right? Like they inverted these characters and took and like made them better because of each other. And I feel that if Robert Downey Jr. is interested in this role, it's like, well, I left the MCU as the biggest hero. I'm going to come back as the biggest villain.
Yeah.
But there has to be some sort of like, why is he doing what he's doing? There has to be some sort of other side to him that endears him to the audience, and maybe not endears, but like.
But it's got to be Tony Stark, or the weight isn't there. It has to be Tony is this bad guy. It has to be.
I understand all the things you're saying. I do, and I from a story standpoint, I understand why that makes the most sense. But that is a gross mishandling of the character of Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is already a compelling character that's tied to a character that they are bringing into the MCU next year.
It's not a one-to-one transition, man. It's just like
it's not.
But if you make Doctor Doom an evil version of Tony Stark that thinks he's doing the right thing by being evil or whatever,
or he's not even being evil. He's being morally
Victor
gray,
Von Doom,
right?
and like there's so much personal stuff that comes with the relationships between Victor the man and Reed and Sue and Johnny and Ben.
Sure.
And I think that you miss that shit when you make Doctor Doom Tony Stark.
But counterpoint, if we're doing 2 more movies where these actors return and we want to tie everything up in a nice, neat, emotional bow, that's a great way to do it. And we can have Fantastic Four fight Annihilus or Galactus or whatever.
The cynical part of me says that Robert Downey Jr. went out as the MCU's biggest hero, and now he gets to come back and be that hero again. Like there's a potential for him to come back and be that hero again, because how many times have we heard the rumor that Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. are coming back to the MCU?
He will be a hero in the end. And I do think it's going to be like what he was saying, the end of Secret Wars, where he's the only one who can stop it.
But that doesn't make Doctor Doom a hero. That just makes Doctor Doom a self-interested guy that doesn't want to die.
Sure. But he saved the universe, right?
So So I think this is a bigger conversation for a different time, but I do want to say I think that because of superhero movies, I think movies in general have moved to like a archetypal framework, right? Like so many of the movies, I watched Maxine a
This
couple.
is smarter than any conversation about comic book movies that we have ever had on
No,
this
but
show.
just hold on. Go ahead.
But let me
Ian.
just finish. I mean, I think people are hungry now for like. I think Dune is a really good example of this. You have a protagonist that everyone is kind of rooting for. That's kind of a bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think that
Well, everybody that knows Dune knows that he's a bad guy.
Well, we're gonna find
right,
out in the
yeah.
second movie, big time. So
Yeah.
right,
but like nobody that only knows the first Dune movie knows that Paul becomes a bad guy.
Well, that's
right.
regardless.
But I think
Spoilers.
But I think that ultimately I think that's
Spoilers
the
for
kind
a 50-year-old book series.
Yeah, I think that partially though, I think that people are kind of like they want more depth to their characters. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that again, going back to the Russo's original 4 movies, like you put into question Tony Stark and Captain America when you have Civil War. You put into question their decision making and their morality.
Right.
And I think that is kind of what people want. Those are more complex characters. Like everyone talked about how they wanted anti-heroes for Forever and Logan. And it's like, well, I think we want more than that now. I think we want people who do the right things for the wrong reasons and do wrong things for the right reasons. And I'm hoping at least that Tony Stark's portrayal of Doom or whoever will kind of feed into that. Because I think we're all tired of just like, I'm the good guy and I always do the right thing. And I'm going to fight the bad guy who always does the bad thing.
And
like,
Ian, just to take that a step
I think
further, I think the Russos are interested in telling that type of story and have showed us that again and again and again.
I think the Russos have a mandate from Disney to recreate Endgame style viral moments.
Well, sure.
do it again.
And I think that,
And they
I
did
think
that.
I think that you can have both is my point. I think you can have a Fantastic Four movie and an Avengers 5 where Robert Downy Jr. is an evil version of Tony Stark or an anti-hero, however you want to describe him. And you can have that meaty portrayal and still have your cake and eat it too when in the 6th movie, we get Tony Stark restored as Iron Man, which might not make a ton of narrative sense if you don't know about body swapping and all this comic book nonsense. But it didn't make any narrative sense for all of the women characters to rally behind Carol Danvers, who certainly didn't need the help in Avengers Endgame, and yet everybody cheered. They called it the A-Force moment.
Sure, but I mean,
and it's like, and so like the Russos, they want to do that. They want to create a movie that has moments like that. And I can't think of anything that will break the fans' minds in half more than Tony Stark suiting back up and coming and crawling his way back from death and becoming a hero. Now, I'm not saying it's narratively satisfying. I'm not saying it makes a ton of sense. I'm saying they're going to have to do a whole bunch of gymnastics to get there.
I think they're going to go full Scarlet Witch and Vision, and it's going to end up being a dick joke and a totally different character. Just like Quicksilver.
John Boner.
It's going to be John Boner.
Not John Boner.
A John Boner
Mike
situation.
Boner, whatever his name
like,
was.
Oh, Quicksilver. He's
John
Quicksilver.
Boner
He's
was
totally
a-
Quicksilver. No, he's John Boner.
John Boner was Secretary of Defense or something.
That's John
Boehner. Yeah.
That was John
Speaker of
Boehner.
the House.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, he was a very orange man.
So Frank asked, what do you suppose he meant when they said new mask, different task? And or
different mask, same task.
Different mask, yeah, it was backwards. Yeah, different mask, same task.
It was like big old
And I
mask,
think
big
the
old
same task
right?
is saving the world, and I think that's where Ian's
No,
point.
the same task is leading a fucking movie.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of different ways to interpret that, JD. And
Well, okay,
one is
but real
is
quick.
the cynical. What's going to make Disney the most money and most talked
Sure.
about?
But Joe, real
And
quick.
that's Tony Stark coming back as Iron Man.
You
eventually.
brought up Blood Hunt, and we brought up the end of Blood Hunt, where and spoilers.
Yeah, we talked about that when you left for the toilet.
Spoilers for the end of
third
Blood
time.
Hunt, where Doom says, "I'm not done saving the world.
We already
I'm gonna
covered
go
that,
save
bud.
the world." I mean,
We covered that when you went away again.
I get
for
that.
the
I'm
third
just
time.
saying that's exactly where Ian's story can go with this. Maybe he's not the same hero, but he's here to save the world, and he's going to, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. And so Yes, and I agree with that. I think that if that is a story tagline, different mask, same task, then that is like, oh, Doom thinks he's here to save the multiverse or whatever.
I don't think the mask line refers to the character at all. I think the mask line is 100% RDJ.
Yeah,
sure.
It's just RDJ.
I do think that historically the Avengers movies have kind of been focused on the consequences of their actions.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Right, and I think we all kind of understand how Hickman's Avengers run is going to kind of like, hey, like we fucked around with the time stream a bunch to save our world and save our universe, but in doing so, we punched all of these holes in the continuum, and that's going to lead to the collapse.
Right.
And again, Doom showing up is like, I'm going to save reality. And that's essentially the same thing he was doing in the Avengers movies. Was like, I'm going to save the world.
Totally.
But the way he does it is not the best way to do it, and ends up causing more destruction. Right? It's like kind of it's kind of
interesting because I just listened to a podcast that was talking about Beast, and they brought up the fact that Beast bringing the 05 X-Men back in Bendis's new X-Men run was the thing that started Secret Wars.
I mean, it's certainly.
I guess
it was definitely a part of it. Yeah.
The Illuminati straight up puts him to task. It says, "You did this.
Yeah,
this is your fault."
Okay, yeah.
No,
it's been so long since I've read those, but yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what the new inciting incident is, and if it will be X-Men related.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't think it needs.
We won't see the X-Men before.
I don't think it needs to be.
Well,
no, we're not.
We don't know yet what's in. Fuck it, I can't keep
there. If there was any even plan for X-Men stuff, they would have said something.
Whatever number phase.
Yeah,
Avengers Secret Wars is in. We don't know yet what movies are going to be part of that.
Phase 6.
But, I mean, maybe X-Men, but I don't know that we'll get X-Men until.
I think we're going to clear the board of all of this stuff first and start over, like what Brian talked about.
That's kind of what I think. Yeah.
You got to clear the board first because everybody's getting old. Everybody's getting old.
So Mark brought it up in the chat. He says that Secret Wars is an opportunity to kind of reboot the universe and recast. And Brian has been saying it for years now, is that at some point the MCU will completely reboot and we will see Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, et cetera, again, played by different characters, or different actors rather. And I think that there's merit to that, but I selfishly hope that that's not the case, because then we lose everything that they've been building, right?
Yeah.
Well, how many times have we done it in comics, though? I mean, like, and you can't just keep doing it. They're getting older, Joe. We can't, like.
No, I get it, but I'm saying, like, at a certain that's the decision that Marvel has to make.
Right.
Do they make these roles legacy roles like they've done with Sam Wilson and Captain America?
Yes.
And make Kate Bishop the official Hawkeye, and make somebody else the official Iron Man, or et cetera.
Ironheart.
Yeah, Ironheart, right? Or do they, or are they going to decide that it is more bankable to say, well, we have to have this. We have to have Steve and Tony and those guys, because those are the guys everybody knows.
Well, I mean, you can still have them, but you can turn the camera to the left, and be like,
I think you're right, JD.
It's the wrong decision, but it's the decision that the comics have made for years.
Sure.
Well, and DC does it too. Like, how many conversations have we had about how there can possibly be this many Robins?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's like, well, the answer is
Batman after Morrison's run.
The answer is cosmic shenanigans that have kept these characters at an age that keeps them viable as heroes while also allowing for them to have legacy. It's like, you can't have Wally West has 3 children. He is a married adult man with 3 children, and Barry is in his 40s, maybe.
Yeah.
And
Mark, pipe up. Mark Stern, I want to hear pipe up and mention that. If you can turn your mic on, Mark.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
Okay. Yeah, I just think that I'm with you on this one, Matt. I think these guys are getting so old.
Yeah.
Not old, but I mean, even like Robert Downy Jr., like he looked emaciated. And I know that's because he's a vegan now.
Right.
And so he doesn't get enough like protein and stuff. But like in that last movie,
Yeah,
and they
eat a dick.
but they worked around it, Like they were like, okay, well, he was stuck on the spaceship and he was starving, and that's why he's so skinny.
Sure.
Anyway, but that's just like a physical thing. But I think these guys are getting to the age where we need to pull a page out of the comic book playbook and reboot. Bring them back down, like bring them back into like an age range.
If you want to do that,
they can recast, get cheap talent. I mean, how much are they paying Iron Man or Downey Jr.? 90 million?
Yeah,
and like
ridiculous.
all the perks under the sun.
90 million. That is an obscene number.
But there's money to be made.
When I read that, Mark, I was like, is it for both movies put together?
Joe, do you ever watch baseball? Do you know what they pay?
No,
those
I know
guys?
that, Matt. But like, who's the highest paid actor in Hollywood? Tom Cruise, maybe.
How
much money do you think he's paid per movie? Not $90 million.
I mean, I don't know.
But my point is, it's like if you recast and you bring in some relatively not unknown talent, but young talent,
but fresh,
and like
right?
Yeah, and they can sign these kids. I mean, I'm talking like 25-year-olds.
Sure.
But like, if you can sign them to like a 5-movie contract for $100 million a piece, boy,
yeah,
why not? And
yeah,
then,
I remember when they used to make a bunch of noise about how many movies each character had been contracted for.
Right.
Right. Like I remember when Sebastian Stan joined the MCU, and they were like, "Yeah, he's signed on for a 6-movie contract."
It was like 12 or something like. It was something crazy.
No, not 12.
Yeah, it was.
But,
It was something nuts.
But, I mean, at the very least, a half dozen.
Yeah.
For all of these actors, and that was at the start.
But now, so there is another choice.
I think
they can
you're right
though.
there, Mark. I think you're right that like. If that's what they have to do if they want to.
If they want to do that, the other thing they can do.
I think that they're going to say that there's more money. The sad fact of the matter is that there's always going to be more money in regurgitating the familiar than in creating something new.
Sure.
And so casting Kate Bishop as the new Hawkeye or Riri as the new Iron Person, or making an Avengers with Sam and Kate and Bucky or Rhodey or whoever. The thing about like Iron Man's whatever. He doesn't have to be physical. He's in a robot suit. But at a certain point it's like, okay, Grandpa, we do have to draw a line somewhere. But he's not doing backflips out of the armor.
We're also in the movies, like what happened with Iron Man at the very end, right? He's grown up. He's married now. He's got a daughter.
Yeah.
Now, how does that reflect to the comic books? Like they jumped the gun, right?
Yeah.
Like, in the comic books, he's still a playboy. He's still, and I know that's a whole different argument.
And that's just a whole issue with comics, Mark, that the movies have not yet had to deal with, and that is the fact that they're only just now getting to the point where somebody should be thinking about it at Disney.
Yeah.
And that is that Tony, for all of the maturity that happens to him as a character, for all of the evolution that happens to Peter as a character, at a certain point, there is a soft reset. And suddenly Tony Stark is back in charge of a company. And all of a sudden, Peter Parker is a photographer again, and he's broke. Even though we've got a 10-year span of comic books by Dan Slott where he's like an inventor and successful and happy and yada yada. And then they were like, nope.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Now he's back in college because oops, he never finished college.
There's a really great, sad horror story to write about all this. Like, you just write about a Spider-Man character who has to go through all of this pain and anguish and mature, and then like his universe just gets rebooted.
And he has to do it again.
He's aware of it, and he's like, God damn it. Like, I got to be fucking 16 again. I got to watch my uncle get killed all over again.
It's Groundhog Day 2.
You're the writer. You guys get a collab going.
Groundhog Day 2 starring Spider-Man, basically. Yeah.
I wanted to jump in and say this. I wanted to say that I'm in full agreement of recasting the roles. I think I think currently leading the pack, Glenn Powell as Tony Stark and Austin Butler as Steve Rogers would probably be the way I would go.
Ooh, I love Austin Butler. I love him.
Austin Butler,
I was thinking
he's
Glenn
Elvis,
Powell.
right?
I love him.
I was thinking Glenn Powell as Steve, but
I would
as
see
Tony,
Glenn
that's-
Powell more as
No
Steve,
way.
yeah, but
You guys didn't
Yeah.
watch Austin Butler in that last
you
World
shave
War
that-
II
you shave
show that he was
beard,
in, did
his hair
you?
a little bit. I mean, yeah, I think he'd be great. He's got the swagger for it.
Yeah,
too.
and he talks like someone who's right out of World War II. My God, he sounds like he's been asleep.
yeah, but Steve
for
is wholesome.
70
Austin
years.
Butler, nothing about Austin Butler screams wholesome.
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
that's true.
Nothing screams wholesome.
let
He's
me
doing a
ask
bunch
you
of
question.
porn.
You're gonna
America's ass.
Here's the thing: you're gonna recast a guy to play Tony Stark in Iron Man. Do you recast someone to play Tony Stark from the comic books prior to Robert Downy Jr., or do you cast somebody who's gonna be like Robert Downey Jr.?
I think it's a really good question.
You know,
Ooh.
Oh, you mean character-wise? Like,
Listen,
yeah.
he remade that
fast-talking,
character.
snarky.
Right.
yeah, because Tony Stark was not like that before
No,
Iron
he
Man
was
1
a-
came out.
he
Get
was a
Sawyer
jerk.
from Lost.
Yeah.
Right, exactly right. Exactly
So,
right.
I
It was
think
Sawyer from Lost.
we might be missing a bigger point, and that is that like these stories can all exist, but Marvel has whole other sandboxes they can play in, including the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, all this other stuff. So you can say, and then Tony and Cap had a happy ending, and they went away. And
yeah,
now
the Avengers.
and now
the
we
Avengers no longer exist.
turn the
forever.
camera to the right. No, the
But
Avengers can be there. They can be doing stuff in the background and show up now and again, maybe.
I just don't see
But
it
you
happening.
turn the camera to the right and go, it makes sense for us to build something new that we can do for the next 10 years. And if you look, man, you put the substitute Avengers in a movie, it's not going to be the same. You can't. And if
I
you
agree.
recast them, it's going to they're starting all over. I don't think they risk it. I think they slowly build other properties now. And the next
But the
huge
question
thing
is,
we
Matt,
get
what's
is a
the
giant
bigger
X-Men
risk?
thing.
I think.
What's the bigger risk?
It's not an X.
I think you
The
can do
X-Men
both.
aren't a
I
risk.
think you can do both.
Yeah, I mean, you could
turn the
gently
camera
do
to the
both
left.
too.
We have these movies announced. So we have Fantastic Four. We know there's going to be an X-Men movie.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think you can have those Avengers in the background. And
Yeah.
if you want to recast at some point in X-Men, have Steve Rogers show up in X-Men arguing with Scott about mutant rights or something,
Sure.
and have it be a different actor. And just don't say shit.
I don't know
And
if you can
way
do
can
that.
have you can have
so-
a quiet. You can have a new actor as Steve Rogers, but they're not the focus of the movie, so you don't have to worry about them carrying the movie.
So
And then
this
you can
group,
eventually bring it around.
Right.
this group has literally spent years arguing about how they're going to bring the X-Men, how the mutants specifically,
Sure.
Yeah.
into the MCU after over a decade of there being none.
Right. they
And
did
I
it.
think the answer is Secret Wars flips a light switch.
Yeah.
They turn the power off and turn it back on. And when it comes back on, there's been a system update. And now the part of Tony Stark is being played by a different actor, and the MCU has mutants in it, and the Fantastic Four have always been here, and
Yeah.
Deadpool has always been here.
Maybe.
And I think that we get a new MCU. And if you don't think that fans are going to roll with it, I'd like to introduce you to a legion of people that I know that just let the movies wash over them, and they
Well,
have
sure.
no fucking clue.
Sure. And that goes back to like what Ian was saying about like Doctor Doom. There is a really easy way to do this and just be like, yeah, he's evil Tony from a different multiverse. You guys already know about that, right? It's in the movies.
I don't even think you have to do that. I don't even think you have to do that.
Done.
I think legitimately, I think you just let Robert Downey Jr. play Victor Von Doom, and just be like, his resemblance to Tony, if they even bother to talk about it, is just a curiosity.
That's another thing that they could do. That we're so caught up in the what could go wrong, but that we haven't really discussed a lot of the possibilities for how it could be. They never said that he was Tony. They said he was Victor Von Doom.
Yeah.
So what if Victor Von Doom is like, oh, the most beloved hero in this universe I'm about to go to is Tony Stark, and he makes himself over to be Tony Stark.
That's the same
What if
thing.
it's something as simple as
That's your mind control. That's just like that's the same script.
whatever you want to call it. He's a shapeshifts, image inducer.
Yeah.
I still think you're
you know.
hung up on Tony Stark. He's not going to be Tony Stark. He's
I
not
think
going to
that there's
even
no-
look like Tony Stark.
if they have him take that mask off, there is no way that they can get away with that without somebody saying, "You are Tony Stark."
Unless they put him in prosthetics and make him scarred. Make
No,
him
because
nasty looking.
you're gonna have that amazing moment of revelation where Tom Holland's Spider-Man sees his father figure, and then his father figure starts just like murking out Avengers or something. Like, there's no way they're gonna miss.
Well, but I mean, you know, and you know what? I think if Spider-Man No Way Home has proven anything to us, is that the characters, the variants in the MCU can look wildly different. And that's fine. But what the variants in the MCU have not done up until this point is look like characters we already have. You know what I mean? Like Tom Holland met a version of Peter Parker that doesn't look like him.
I mean, sure, but there's no emotional heft there
but
at all.
But no one has ever met a variant of a character that looks like a different
They're
character.
going to do the emotional heft thing. There's no way they don't.
I totally agree.
have to.
I didn't see the
100%.
movie, and it sounds like it was played for laughs, but it sounds like they have already done that with Chris Evans and Johnny Storm.
Well, yeah, but that was too hilarious effect, is what it was. So
That's true. Well, right, and that's
that was making fun of what we're talking
about.
about.
That's a fourth wall breaking kind of meta moment.
Yeah,
where
that's them literally making
Deadpool. You're absolutely right, JD, because leading up until that point, Deadpool is like, it's him.
Yeah,
he's gonna say it.
He's gonna do the
Avengers
thing.
Assemble.
Right.
Like he thinks it's Cap. The theme starts to swell a little bit.
He's gonna say he can do this all day.
All of a sudden
Watch.
he shouts "Flame on!"
Yeah.
And then takes off into the sky.
That is Deadpool making fun of our conversation right
played,
now. It's what that is.
But here's my thing, though. Even if it's not played for laughs, if you're not, there's no way you can tell me that using RDJ's face in an emotional moment, playing Victor Von Doom with a character that knows him as Tony Stark, there's no way you can't tell me that's not a meta moment either.
Well, I mean, sure.
That's still meta.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they got to do it for the story. It's got to be Tony. It has to. Hey, I got to get out of here because
I'm saying they're not going to use the meta moment. I think they're just going to use RDJ as an actor playing Victor Von Doom.
And I think that's wishful thinking on your part, JD, but these folks are out to make money and they're not going to avoid calling him Tony Stark. No way, no how.
I got to get out of here. It is noon. I got stuff I got to finish.
Before you wrap up, I just want to say, I know we got to go, but Mark brings up a good point here in the chat at the end here. Another component is the continuity of 16 years worth of the MCU from Iron Man onward. It's substantial. We love it, but they might want to be mindful of the average moviegoer who won't want to go anymore because they'd be completely lost. A soft reboot could help to ease the learning curve to the lay moviegoer. And I agree with you. I agree with you, Mark. I think that I've heard a lot of people say, I haven't seen the last 5 Marvel movies, so I didn't go.
Yeah, but for a lesson in that history book, let's just look at fucking Star Wars. Okay, they can't let go of any of this crap. Like, I don't think they're going to learn that lesson at Disney.
I think that they're so mercurial that sometimes they think about those lessons and sometimes they think about their bank accounts. And usually the bank account wins out.
Yes.
And what's going to give them the biggest boost to their bank account? Tony Stark.
Yeah. All right, we got to get out of here. New comics reviews coming this week. Watch for those.
This was great.
Patreon Extra next week. The week after, CLB, Evil Tony. Sometimes he's doomed. Sometimes he's just bad. We're going to get into it. It's going to be fun.
This coming week's Extra is our Nerd TV review of Batman Caped Crusader.
Yeah, so you haven't watched it.
Get excited.
It quietly launched on Amazon Prime. So you should watch it. A lot of people I know didn't even know it was out there. They're like, are you kidding? No, it's there.
Didn't even get to that. Holy crap.
But this was a great discussion, guys.
This was good
today.
All right, this is Two-Headed Nerd. My name's Matt Baum.
I'm the Internet's Joe Patrick.
Signing off.
Bye, guys.